Here today with Coach Grady Rowe of the Bellville Brahmas. How you doing today, Coach?
Good, good. Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are definitely welcome. Uh, let's start off with one of the things I'm trying to do with these interviews is kind of illustrate some aspects of the life of a coach that might be a little below the radar for most people. So if you don't mind, just take us through your coaching career from when you first started.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Well, first off, I'm a son of a coach. My dad was a coach, uh, and actually had the opportunity to work for my brother at one point in my career. And but I'm in year 26 right now. Started off as an assistant in Smithville for my first 4 years. Went through, I think we went through three head coaches in my 4 years there. Started off with Danny Daly and then Mike Royce and then Wade Burcham. Wade's still a very good friend of mine, and we actually made the playoffs there. I think it was the first time in 13 years at that time when we were able to make the playoffs. And then had the opportunity to go to Aldine Nimitz and be my brother's assistant head coach and defensive coordinator. Was there for 4 years. Started off, it was the 99 season, starting off at Nimitz, I guess, and we were fortunate enough to have some success there, the best in the school's history. And from that point, I convinced my brother to go back to our hometown, which was Livingston. And Nimitz let us out of contract. Went to Livingston from Nimitz, and I was there with my brother for 24 days before I landed my first head job in Troy. We had that one resume out and had an interview, and was actually nervous to go talk to my brother because I was the one that convinced him to go back to Livingston. But things worked out well for both of us there. I was in Troy for 7 years, and then the Bellville job opened up, and the history and tradition of Bellville, and was able to land this job and going on year 12 now here in Bellville, which has been just a great fit, a great place with a lot of support.
12 years, not a record, but way above average. Uh, so you mentioned a couple of the head coaches you worked under. Every stop along the way, whether it be a head coach or a coordinator or a fellow coach, you pick up bits and pieces from everybody, and then you develop your own style, priorities. And then first at Troy and now here at Belleville, one of the aspects of coaching that some people overlook is coaching the coaches. So your role as AD or athletic coordinator or head football coach is to in part prepare those coaches for whatever's going to be next in their career. So talk a little bit about that mentor role.
Well, absolutely. I've worked for some really good ones, all a little bit different, but I've worked for some really good ones. Even my very first year, Danny Daly in Smithville, he was a relationship guy. He did a great job building relationships, and that was awesome for me to be around. Of course, I've been around coaching all my life, but went on and I've been very fortunate, in my career. I think learned a whole lot of football from Mike Royce, especially on the defensive side. Learned a whole lot there. And then, Wade was a good friend, and Burcham, who was, head coach for 2 years at Smithville that I was under, he did a great job also building relationships. And then I worked for my brother, and I saw really a whole different side that obviously knew, but hadn't worked with my brother before. And you're talking about building relationships. You talk about coaching coaches, holding kids and coaches accountable. But probably the biggest thing is the organization side of being an athletic director, being a head football coach, and not leaving anything unturned, and just really being very methodical, being very, very organized about every little thing. Learned a great deal from him with that. And also just dealing with kids that those kids in Aldine and at Nimitz, they needed us. They needed us to do all the extras that I previous stop didn't have to really do, didn't know, and saw a whole different side of things there. So then I worked for some great bosses as far as superintendents. My very first superintendent was Kerry Hansen in Troy, former coach. He provided everything that we needed. And he was a mentor that I could go in and talk to at any time. It didn't matter, personal, career related. And I knew anything that I went in to talk to him about, I could trust him. That was big. And then Mike Coker hired me here in Bellville. Mike Coker, he was a little more of a hands-on boss, but anything and everything that we needed, within reason that we actually needed, not wanted, but needed, he provided. And he was a mentor I could go in and talk to about athletics, because he was a former head football coach, and I could talk football with him if I needed to talk football with him. But he was always there 24/7, still is to this day. If I need him, I can call him. And I think I learned a lot from him with that. Make a mistake, admit it, move on, and try to get better. I learned a lot of that from him. And now I've got a great boss. She's Dr. Nicole Painich is our superintendent here, talking about a great leader. And she leads by example, wants to really, she loves to talk about culture. She loves to talk about leadership. And, a lot of those things have rubbed off on me here with her too.
Now, you talked about details, and as I've observed when I've followed a couple of coaches through game day, you really are talking about details. I mean, everything has to be done. I mean, somebody has to make sure the Gatorade gets mixed, and that's just one example of as the guy in charge, you have to know everything that has to be done and make sure that it gets done.
Absolutely. We have our jobs, and we have a big coach's manual that is down to who's our discipline guy, who's the guy that picks up the gator every morning, and just who's in charge of, you mentioned Gatorade, who's in charge of our hydration station, who's in charge of headphones, who's in charge of every little thing that there is. We're staying on top of academics and have an academic coordinator and having coaches responsible for every kid in our athletic program as far as the academic side. There's so many things, and I'm so fortunate here now that a lot of my staff, we've been together for some of us for all 12 years, others for 10 plus, 10 years. And, those guys know exactly what I expect. And, when you've been somewhere for 12 years and you know what to expect from each other, and they know what to expect from you, that's important. That's just a huge thing that I'm very fortunate to have here.
All right. Well, I am a football guy. That's what I concentrate on. So let's talk a little football. Bellville Brahmas 2022. Now, you've been a team that, from my view, has kind of been right there on the edge of really taking it to that next level for several years of being a state title kind of contender. So what are you looking like for 2022?
Well, I think one of the big obvious things is we lose two Division I football players. Richard Reese and Robert Briggs have been our explosive players for 4 years. So the biggest thing that sticks out for us is replacing those guys. And I don't think you ever truly replace two guys like that. But we'll be different. We'll be different than what we've been over the past couple of years at least. But we've got a lot of tradition here. Our kids work extremely hard, and our parents let us coach our kids hard. They expect us to hold them accountable for everything. So we're still going to be successful. We're still going to be a good football team. But we return 7 players on the offensive side of the ball and 5 players on the defensive side, and I like the guys that return a whole lot. They're good, hard-nosed high school football players, and a couple of them will have an opportunity to move on. We'll be a little bit different. We won't be quite as explosive, may not be in the gun as much as we we're a slot T team, and the last 2 years, not quite as much slot T as what your typical slot T team is. We may be back to being a little bit more in our slot T than what we have been. But we're going to be big up front. We're going to be physical up front. Our quarterback is going to return. Unfortunately, our starter this year broke his foot right before district play. Now you look at that, and you got a guy that's returning because of that injury, and Reed McCann, and he'll do a great job running our offense. But those 7 starters on offense are going to be big for us. And again, we'll be big and physical. Kind of Bellville, Brainmuff, all kind of what we're known for. We'll be back to that physical football play.
Okay, so other than McCann, what are the names I'm going to be hearing if I come out to a game?
Well, we've got Big Red. Jacob Renitsky is a returning. He'll be a 3-year starter at center. He returns, so it starts up front with that guy. Smart, just a leader. And then we've got Bucky Coy. Coy name is Arts. Bucky will be basically a 3-year starter returning at tight end for us. We'll be able to move him around. He's a really good one to have back. We'll move our quick guard over to our strong guard in Rip Miles. And then strong tackle, we'll have to replace our strong tackle, but Aiden Tovar looks to be, returning guy that had some playing time, but he'll take over that starting position. He's about 6'3.5", weighs about 310. So he's going to be literally a big part of our offense. And then Marcus Smith is returning quick tackle. He's about 6'3", 270, 275. So a big part. We'll have to replace our backs, except for Sam Renitsky's our halfback, kind of our physical old school fullback. He's the returner there. We'll have to replace our fullback position, which has kind of been the big position for us offensively. That's Richard Reese who is going to Baylor. We'll have to replace that one, but we've got a couple of kiddos that we feel confident that will come into play with that one. Tanner Node will battle for that position, and he'll do a great job. Corian Hood will be a sophomore. He'll battle there, and so we've got some good ones at our wide receiver. We've got Cole Newman, Blake Linsize, and those guys return. So we've got some good returners there. So feel good about us offensively and what we're returning. Again, not as explosive, but we'll be physical and get after you pretty good.
All right. Well, now the really hard question. Been there for 12 years. What's Grady Rowe's go-to restaurant in Bellville?
Go-to restaurant in Bellville. Well, everybody that comes through, I get a lot of texts from Houston friends that they're in Bellville and they've headed to the Bellville Meat Market. You can't beat the meat market. We've got a lot of great places around here, but the Bellville Meat Market is the one that, they go by. Our middle name is Meat. But a lot of people stop there, and that's kind of a go-to around this area for sure.
What's Grady Rowe's go-to order at the Bellville Meat Market?
Well, I can't do it on game day, but man, you can't beat their baked potato with their barbecue and everything else on that baked potato. It's a good one, but you can't go wrong. Anything you get there is pretty awesome.
All right, Coach. Well, really appreciate your time today, and best of luck in the coming season.
All right, appreciate you. Thanks for having me.